Hello, I just wrote an article in my blog, and I decided to make this video in English because the article was in English and it was addressed to the US and to the international community, not the US actually, and this is indeed what I'm talking about in this video. Actually, today North Korea made an announcement that on the news that they have been stolen. Someone stole 2 million bitcoins from them, you know. And this is kind of a claim because they had been accused of stealing 2 billion bitcoins. Hackers stole 2 billion bitcoins to make missiles. So this was kind of like an answer. He was answering back by saying, "Oh, how do you know who stole from whom?" You know. And then the article I wrote is kind of discussing the possibility of a new agreement because the US sells weapons to the Middle East, and because the US produces weapons just because they have weapons as a lifestyle, you know, so they have a commercialization of weapons. And when there is a demand, they have to sell, you know. Otherwise, the countries threat them. So if they don't sell the weapons, the countries threat them. If they want the weapons, the countries threat them. And the US sells those weapons to the Middle East to finance this war that happens there. And they say, okay, so give something for us in retribution. And they say, give us the oil at least, because you're giving us, we're giving you the weapons, but you're not giving anything in retribution. And if we don't give you the weapons, you threaten us with missiles and weapons of massive destruction. We don't understand what's going on. We are just terrorists, in our opinion. But it's not none of that. The Middle East wants goods such as agribusiness and meat, you know, cattle, and 40% of Brazil's trade of these goods is with the Middle East, indeed. But it's not enough to suffice for all the needs of the Middle East. So it's not enough. So countries in general all around the world, since the Second World War and even before, we have countries, they put all blame and all blast upon the US youth. So if they want something, they say, "Oh, please, the USA, give me something. I want meat. I want cattle. USA, give me cattle. I want I don't know. I want this. I want that. I want commodities. USA, give me commodities." Everything they knock on the US door. So all the countries do that. And the US, really, they have a really strong market ability, but they don't have all the things to provide to all the world. They're sustainable for themselves. They're really rich, but they're not supposed to provide you things for people around the world, for all the countries in the world. Either are they supposed to appoint who is supposed to do business with whom? This is unethical. And sometimes, even though like Brazil has a lot of potential with agribusiness, commodities and all that, we sell for many people, but sometimes we don't have partners We don't have partners. We have the potential. Sometimes we produce and we don't have like partners to sell, and sometimes like we have lots of unemployment because we have lots of fields and lots of potential, but we don't have we cannot sell those things. So even though the USA might know that Brazil is, for instance, Brazil, it could be any other country, Central America. So even though North America would know that those countries would be a good possibility for being a partner with Middle East or any other country that would need, the USA cannot appoint those countries for doing business with them, because this is unethical, you know, in the business overview. You cannot like say, oh, you do business with him, because in this way you are appointing and you are trying to take advantage from the situation, unless it's a conglomerate like the BRICS, the NATO, what's the name? USA, Mexico, and Canada. Totally forgot. So when you have a Mercosur, so when you have a conglomerate, then they decide inside the conglomerate who's gonna do business with whom. But rather than outside the conglomerate, you cannot say, oh, you have business with him, or because you don't know if it's allowed by the culture of that country to accept business with the other country. So, for example, let's say that the USA knows that the USA know that Jerusalem, Israel, have lots of stocks on cattle, and that a certain country in the Middle East needs this cattle. So, like, and then the Middle East go and say, oh, we need these. The USA cannot say, oh, okay, Israel has these to sell to you, because the Israel and Palestinians are big enemies. So this is just an example. So it's not, sometimes two countries are enemies, or just culturally they don't do business culturally. So one country cannot invade the space of the business of each other. And so they go to the USA to ask, oh, please tell me, I want these, I want that. And sometimes agreements are not settled, you know, like sometimes the agreements are not settled. So something like that could be easy to decide, such as the Middle East do business with the BRICS, with Brazil, Russia, India, China, in South Africa, and they do business with the Mercosur. And in exchange, they buy stocks of our goods to sell to their partners, such as the US, even, and also trying to pay for the financial loss that the US suffered during this war, by giving a percentage of these purchases of shares and stocks to the US. It's a possibility, but mostly, I'm just trying to say here, if you want to read the full article, it's in my blog. I just wrote it. It's called North Korea Bitcoins, something like that. But it's under this date. Today is the 15th, I think. So it's under, no, this is the 14th. It's August the 14th. You can read the article. But what I'm trying to say is that the USA is not the bad guy, you know, like, because when I say that, oh, the USA sells weapons to the Middle East and they are financing the war, but they're not getting anything in exchange, it's not that. It's just that they, oh, you know, they knock on their door, they say, oh, please, we want this, we want that, we need this, we need that, and or in exchange of, on the other hand, all other countries in the world cannot do anything without consulting the USA, because as it has created this culture of terrorism, because countries have been accustomed to knocking on the USA's doors for so long, and the USA could not help everybody because they didn't have all the needs, all the goods to help them. And the countries became mad because they said, oh, if you don't have, who does? And no other countries did either. We didn't have the goods to help the other countries. The culture of terrorism was created, and they started to attack the USA. So the USA became like a judge, whether like, oh, you are ready to have these, you are not. He is like, he decides, at least here in South America, and we have many goods to provide, but so he cannot say who can have business with whom, but he can say who cannot have business with whom. And so, but I'm not saying that they're evil, or they're so evil because they don't allow Brazil to do business. No, this is not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that they are selfish because, oh, the USA sells weapons to the Middle East, you know, and they just want the money. This is not what I'm saying either. What I'm saying is, it has been created, has been generated a philosophy and a culture of terror for goods. People want goods, like spoiled children, you know. Oh, I cannot have what I want, so I'm going to explode the world. And terror for goods. It's a culture. It has been created since the Vietnam War, I think, and then with the Cold War, and then the Gulf War, and then it hasn't stopped. But this is a reality. But if the USA don't sell the weapons, they have a market for weapons because they have a commercial life with weapons. They have a trade, a commercial. Weapons are free there, so not free for buying, for carrying, and so there's a demand, also international demand for weapons, and if they don't sell those weapons overseas, so they are threatened with weapons of mass destruction. And if they sell the weapons. They don't get anything in retribution because the Middle East don't want to sell the oil anymore in exchange of weapons. They are even like putting fire on the usines they have because they say we don't want these, we want food. But they don't explain what they want, you know, because they know that the USA is not able to articulate everything for them, and they don't know who has what they need, and how they can get it. And the BRICS can help them because, like, they do business directly with Russia. The weapons that go to the US to the Middle East from the USA is moderated by Russia. Russia decides how many weapons go to the Middle East from the USA, and Russia is part of the BRICS. So yes, the BRICS should be explored to its utmost, but people are not taking it seriously. So I think it's really difficult to advance when it comes to the war, the conflict, you know. So yeah, and this, I think this would be the ideal to sell the commodities, the agribusiness, the cattle, the oil to the Middle East, the stocks, and for consume and for selling, and they sell all around the world. But they have to give some percentage. So when they sell to the USA, they have to give a percentage, let's say discount, as a financial aid, not aid, financial means to excuse for what they did, like to pay off for what all the weapons they bought and didn't pay for. Well, this is what I think. And the article is there. I'm so sorry, I'm tired, it's late, so I think I'm going to drink some water and I'm gonna go to bed. And also, I went to an interview today, and it was a disaster. It was a total disaster, and I felt so bad, you know, like, cause I don't know, I think it's not gonna happen. I think nothing's ever gonna happen again. I don't know, I'm just so disappointed with myself. And I'm tired too. Tired. I don't know what I wanted. I wanted to. I tried to put some ads on my blog, but it's not working. Like, Google hasn't answered me. Like, I don't know why they haven't answered me. And I thought it would work and I could have some money from the Google, but they haven't answered me. I think it would be good to have some students, private students maybe, but it's not working either. Schools don't call me anymore. I'm tired. The translations, they pay so very little, and like, oh man. I don't know what to do.